But Chris, speaking of fun,
Yeah,
was it a fun month in terms of launches? Let's see, we're out to launch.
it was.
I'll
We've
let you.
got a lot going on. To give you a quick rundown of what's going on in the world of space, well, first of all, we've had a launch that not all launches are the same. Launches can be different sometimes. I've seen some very different launches, but I've never seen anything quite like the journey undertaken by this little rocket, a small orbital rocket, the Astra LV0006. It's about to do something unusual. Not only that it's launching from Alaska, Kodiak Island in Alaska, it's an unusual launch site, but beyond that, this private company that's designed this vehicle, they're testing it with this and a couple previous attempts to get into space. But this time, when they ignited the engines, what you ended up getting was something, well, like this. Now, I'll repeat that a couple times, and you at home may be able to detect something unusual. The rocket does not go in the direction we technically call up. It, in fact, goes sideways off the launch pad, hovering. Now, what's happened here is that one of the rocket's engines has cut out. So it doesn't have enough lift to get itself moving upward very fast. Instead, it's balancing. And that's a very hard thing to do and going sideways. In fact, it left the launch complex, which has a chain link fence around it. Fortunately, someone left the chain link fence gate open because it left through the gate. Now, as for what happens next, I have my own ideas about what I wish happened next. I wish that rocket had gotten out, had a chance to see the countryside, enjoyed the Alaskan wildlife, and maybe stop by Kodiak Island town and got a Starbucks, some KFC, hit the beach, live a little bit. This rocket did not do that, which is kind of unfortunate. As far as I'm concerned, it'd be funny. What it actually did is something you're not expecting when a launch literally goes sideways. Instead, it straightened out and flew. The guidance software was so good. In fact, despite the excitement here, the company's president congratulated his team because what they'd done was design guidance software that was good enough to hold that rocket upright until it could get going. Now, unfortunately, it didn't make it all the way into space, made it up about 43 kilometers before they ended up having to call a halt to it because it used up too much fuel doing its sideways slide and there was an engine out. But really, although it was exciting, my compliments to the Astra team. Well done for a first attempt, and they'll try again. Now, a team that's been having a lot of success lately is SpaceX, and SpaceX has done a delivery using their cargo Dragon spacecraft to send cargo about 4,000 pounds up to the International Space Station. This is a picture of the Dragon approaching the space station. Kind of a fun thing. Of course, there's 4,000 odd pounds of supplies up there, which is really a present for the crew, but just as a fun thing for you, it's literally a present for astronaut Megan McArthur. Megan McArthur's birthday was that day, and she told Mission Control she'd never had anyone send her a spaceship for her birthday. So I thought that was very nice. Happy picture there of the crew, both the cosmonauts and the astronauts on board the International Space Station. On a little bit more serious note, something we're watching here, you'll remember last month we talked about the anomalous docking of the Nauka module, the Russian module with the space station that put some twisting motion into the space station, and everything's stable now. But in an inspection, some of the Russian cosmonauts have found some cracking, little bits of cracking in the Zarya module. That's the service module for the space station, and was in fact the very first of all the space station modules, launched up in 1998. Now, they don't think this is related to the problems that they just had. They think instead these are just signs of age. And it's hard for us to remember 1998. That was a long time ago. The space station is getting older. People are talking about replacing it with a news station. So watching and maintaining this sort of thing with the space station as it gets older is something the crews are definitely doing. It's something to keep an eye on as we go forward. Already mentioned the Dragon. Well, here's a different kind of Dragon. This Dragon is not the cargo dragon, it's the crew dragon. But it's not going to the ISS. Instead, this is going on a 3-day Earth orbital mission without going to the space station. That's actually important. If you look carefully at that picture, you'll see the ship's nose has a little bubble on it. It has a viewing dome on the front. And that is to allow a crew of 4 private citizens, not professional astronauts. They are going to fly on a mission they call Inspiration 4. And this is a mission that's been privately funded. Their spacecraft has been modified to give them this not docking, but viewing portal to help them enjoy the flight. This is the very first time a private, all-civilian orbital spaceflight has ever occurred. Here's a picture of the crew in one of the aircraft doing those ballistic arcs to simulate zero gravity. And you can see the crew here training. I do want to make the point that the crew here is actually, they're not professional astronauts, but they are getting quite a bit of training. Now, Mr. Isaacson over there on your extreme left, he actually put the money up for this flight. He paid for it. Quite a wealthy man, but he was also a jet pilot. So he has experience and he's been undertaking a lot of training. He can assume the controls and so forth and assist in emergencies. The other people were chosen by him essentially to promote the St. Jude's Medical Research Hospital for Children. And in fact, Haley there, you see, third from left, she was a cancer survivor who went on to work at the hospital there. So all of these folks will be raising money for the hospital through the publicity for this space mission. So I encourage you to keep an eye out for it. It's not a science mission, but Inspiration 4, very interesting. Scheduled for launch now, September 15th. So we're coming right up on it. Boy, talk about astronomy, talk about telescopes. The James Webb Telescope, after all of its difficulties over the years, I mean, it's an amazing instrument, but it's had a history of some challenges and cost overruns and things like that. Well, it looks like we got it solved, and the most awaited telescope ever in astronomy is now ready to take flight on an Ariane rocket and begin hopefully a very long career. People are really waiting for this telescope. It has been folded up in California where it has been assembled, and it is going to make its trip to its launch site. But it's going to have to do that on the sea because it's being assembled in the area of Los Angeles, and its launch site is in French Guiana in South America. Okay, so to get from there to there, it's going to have to go through the Panama Canal and through that little ocean in the middle, the Caribbean. And if Caribbean makes you think of things like this, well, that's not entirely out of the question. They are keeping the date secret for when it's transiting through that area. And of course, they're taking security precautions. It's a very expensive instrument, and it's going to be under guard, obviously, all the way. A lot's riding on this. We got to keep this thing safe. So after all the challenges we've had getting this amazing telescope ready, I can promise you it's going to get there safely. We are putting it on the safest ship imaginable. There is no way anything could possibly go wrong. I'm having a little fun with you there, folks. I think we are through our problems now, and we're going to get that telescope to its launch site now. Coming up soon, end of the year. As far as what's going on down to Boca Chica, Texas, the gigantic Starship rocket, lots more going on. They've been working on the launch tower, installing its systems. They're doing heat shield work on the spacecraft. They're working on the booster. They're getting everything ready. Yeah, that work's going to take about another month, something like that. But then there's also the question of the Federal Aviation Administration that regulates spaceflight for these folks. We have to get FAA approval to launch this rocket. Please remember, this is a rocket the size of a Saturn V, so there may be a few meetings on this. Anyway, that's what's going on in the world of space launches right now. Back to you, Dr. Reitzel.
Wow, just, you know, watching that Starship launch is going to be crazy. I can't wait to see them launch that thing.
I haven't seen a rocket that big since I was 8 years old.
Yeah,
Since I was 8 years old, we have not launched a rocket that big.
yeah, it's crazy, and I want to know how many of those tiles are going to fall off, because I bet they will. It'll take them a while to figure out
I
exactly
know.
how to get them mounted. But anyway, interesting stuff. I can't wait to see what keeps happening with this commercial space flight stuff. You know, it's just crazy thinking we've reached an era finally where the space tourism is no longer just a media stunt. It
Right.
felt like about a decade ago we saw these things happening. The Russians were selling seats up on Soyuz to the space station, but that was really kind of a media stunt. They were raising some money. This feels for real. People are going up. They have a dome built. The spacecraft. This is some neat stuff. So I can only hope that these exceptionally rich people also think about the good they could do with some other things. And I'm very happy to see that this flight is raising money for a hospital and for research. So let's hope they raise more money than the cost of the flight. That's what I hope happens. But yeah, and thinking about good things that way, at least they have their heart in the right place as they're taking their ride. So I do appreciate that.